Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 538, written by ulookliketresh. My dark thoughts, vanquished by a glitch. Years ago, I was at the lowest point of my life. I harmed myself and had so many suicidal thoughts. One day, I decided to end all of it. I wrote a letter saying goodbye to everyone and listing the names of my loved ones at the end of the note. I put myself in the bathtub and taped the note on my door. I put my favorite songs on so I can at least have a little fun during the process. I made a little drink of poisonous stuff to drink just in case it didn't work. I drank the drink first and paused because it was literally disgusting, but I had to swallow. I then proceeded to stab myself. I can't remember how many times because I was in so much pain. Then I passed out. I didn't die, but instead I saw my body lifeless, as if in a camera angle. It was truly disturbing, seeing myself dead and deformed like that. My eyes were still and empty. Then I woke up, the drink still in my hand, never drunk. I was confused, disturbed, and terrified. I couldn't process what I had just seen. I decided not to go through it because I can't imagine my parents finding me like that. I'm 4 years clean of those negative thoughts now. Life is bright. Case notes, file number 538. Wow, this was so incredibly heavy to read. The details as you wrote them are so specific. I actually toned them down a bit here for YouTube. If anyone wants to read the exact specifics, the link is always in the description. Anyways, there's a couple layers here. Is quantum immortality involved? Probably. Your attempt may have been successful, but only in one universe, not all of them. Perhaps not even in most. I think you had a strong will to live, but it was buried deep inside. You needed some catalyst to awaken it. And prior to the transfer, it sounds like you had an out-of-body experience. This would be the ultimate catalyst. Visualizing yourself out of your own body. This isn't as rare as you might think, but it's almost always reported as an entirely life-changing event. We all have our demons to conquer. I don't know what was looming over your life 4 years ago. I'm just glad you were able to find the strength through your family to persevere and vanquish them. Good job. Case file number 539, written by Scrappy BR7. A case of mortal déjà vu. I had just been sent home from a deployment with the army to be medically separated. My girlfriend's brother, now brother-in-law, had talked me into becoming a law enforcement officer, my current profession. I wake up to my girlfriend climbing into bed, kissing me and saying, "You need to wake up and get ready for work." I do as she says and see she's asleep. So I quietly sneak out of the house to get myself a pack of cigarettes and an energy drink at the gas station near the house on my way to work. I park the truck, go inside and say hey to the cashier as I grab my drink and put it on the counter. I'm a regular there, so the cashier already knew what cigarettes to grab and turned to grab them as two guys in their mid-20s come into the store. They had this energy and look in their eyes like football players mid-game. Being in uniform, I assumed I was safe and turned to the cashier. Before I could get a word out of my mouth to the cashier, it happened. There was a flash reflected in the lottery scratcher box and a loud boom that instantly made my ears ring. I felt like I had just been punched in the lower back of my head. Blood and teeth were flung onto the cashier and cigarette display. My body is pushed forward as I fall onto the counter and onto the ground, feeling warm liquid on my face and coming out of my head. Before my body settled, everything went dark and silent. I wake up to my girlfriend, getting into bed, kissing me and saying, "You need to get up and get ready for work." I do as she said this time, with a sense of déjà vu. She's asleep as I sneak out for work. I go to a different gas station that time, and 8 months later, last month, I see one of the guys from the gas station in the booking area of the jail. I keep my composure because this is the first time I've ever actually met him in real life. Bonus file, written by Lovely Bloom, 1988. The Great Skeleton Hallucination? When I was 6 or 7, we moved out to a ranch in the countryside of Laredo, Texas. Not a lot of people with good income lived out there. Most houses were isolated and surrounded by woods. My mom and stepdad decided to rent this house because rent was cheap, only $350 a month. No indoor plumbing or central air. A lot of low-income families lived out there. There was a family that lived next to us, a family of 6 kids, all girls and 2 adults. They were also low income and often didn't have much to eat. My mom would often help them out with food, and in return, the kids would come over and help my mom clean the house. This one day, they came over and ate dinner with us. They helped my mom clean, and me and the youngest girl that was about my age fell asleep on my bed. After a while, my mom woke us up because it was getting late, and she needed to go home. Her sisters had left her behind because they didn't want to wake her. It was a good walk to her home, as there was a dirt road leading to our house and to hers. My mom was going to send my brother to walk with her, but I buddied up and said, "Please, can I walk with her?" As we were friends. My mom said yes, so I then walked her to the gate. After we departed, I started on my way back home. When out of nowhere, she comes running behind me crying, throws herself at me and pulls me down by the shoulders. I ask her what's wrong, what happened. She points up and says, "Look up there, look." She was pointing at the top of some abandoned train cars, and what I saw, till this day, I cannot explain. There were 3 skeletons walking back and forth. I was like, holy hell, what the? One was laying on its side, and it had clothes on too, like a tank top and shorts. The other 2 were standing up, just walking back and forth behind that one, stopping and waving hi. We looked at each other and then ran to my house. I quickly told my mom what we saw. My mom and 2 brothers, plus us, went back to look, and they were still there, waving at us. We threw rocks at them, but the rocks didn't faze them. Just like it went through them, like they were ghost skeletons. Either that or we were bad at aiming. After a while, we went home and never saw them again. Till this day, I can't seem to understand or be able to explain how those skeletons were moving, and what they were even doing there to begin with. Some will probably say we were hallucinating, but how can 5 people see the same thing as a hallucination? Some have said that it was Halloween props, but no, it was the 90s, and I never saw any Halloween props that moved that well. During that time, the technology wasn't even real for that kind of movement. Halloween props like that cost a lot of money, and that family couldn't even afford to eat. We were in a dirt poor county. Creepy file number 10, written by Anonymous. The 4 Flowers Stalking. I am still shaking as I think about where I could have been right now had I not acted on a vibe today in Hobby Lobby. I was at the store to indulge in the springtime sale. As I was browsing the entire store, I noticed that I kept seeing the same man wandering around. I thought that he was there with his wife until I realized that he was there alone. I also noticed that he had a Bluetooth headset in his ear the entire time. Not necessarily suspicious in of itself, but I really started to get a bad feeling when he followed me around the small floral section as I weaved through the aisles. He kept looking at random flowers when I would look at him. I even saw him either quietly talking to himself or talking to someone in his Bluetooth, most likely the latter. I circled through the store several times to make sure that he was genuinely following me and to wait for him to leave before I went to check out. After a while of not being able to see him around me, I went up to the front and got in line. He crept from around a corner and got in line right behind me, still holding the 2 random flowers that he had picked up. The cashier rang up my items while I typed a note on my phone. I told her that I had an online coupon and showed her the note that said, "The guy behind me has been following me throughout the store." She said that she was going to get the manager to verify the coupon. The manager came up and read my note and said, "With the other sale already applied, we might not be able to apply this coupon, but let's step aside and see what we can do." She took me past the register to get the details while the cashier rang up the man. I told her everything and I looked back, and the guy is telling the cashier that he forgot something that he wanted. He then goes back to the floral section to add another random stem to his items. He looks at me talking to the manager and tells the cashier that he needs something else again and leaves the register to get another random item. It was at this point that I knew he was stalling to wait for me. The manager picks up on this too and calls up a male staff member to go out of the parking lot to make sure that the man got into his car and drove away after he finally checked out. The guy paid for his 4 random flowers and left the store. The staff member came back in and verified that he drove away and offered to be in the parking lot until I safely drove away as well. He came out with me and pretended to grab carts until I had safely made it to my car and left. I'm so thankful to the staff that immediately jumped into discreet action to ensure my safety.